Hi, welcome back to the Pillow Talk podcast. I'm Kyla, and basically, this podcast aims to feel like that point of a sleepover where things just get hectic for no reason while you're supposed to be sleeping. So that's the goal. And if you're new here, this podcast is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. So definitely check it out. And you can follow on Instagram to stay connected at Kai's Pillow Talk Pod. So, without further ado, let's get into it. Today, I want to talk about the divine feminine and basically why our womanly ways make sense. I love this topic and I've been diving so much into it lately. So, I'm so excited and I really want to hear your guys' take on this as well. But basically, I started learning about all of this. Hmm. I don't know when it was, but I saw this girl's video on Instagram where she was basically explaining how the serpent and the divine feminine go hand in hand. And so, what a coincidence that they were both almost villainized by religion. And when I say all of this, I want you to keep in mind like, I am not necessarily religious. I believe in God and all that. I don't really like to talk about this too much because I never want to sound like I despise religion. I don't think that it is um, I don't think that there's always a bad intention behind religion. And I think because there are two sides to every coin, it can be such a beautiful thing. It can just be used wrongly in the wrong hands. So with bad intentions, it can be used wrongly. So, like, to control people and all that stuff. But anyway, so obviously the serpents and the divine feminine, they were villainized by religion. Um, and, you see that in the very origin story of humans, where, Eve ate the apple because of the snake, and then Adam ate the apple because of Eve. And so it's like, okay, those two are the things that bring evil to the world. But anyway, I'm not going to get too much into that. But if you want to learn more, I will link her videos in the description. Okay. And what I mean is, it'll be in the description of the YouTube upload and the Spotify and Apple Podcast uploads. So check those descriptions if you would like to hear more about that, because I'm not going to go too into it. But something that did intrigue me was the way she was talking about how the serpent and the divine feminine go hand in hand. The same thing with the two sides of a coin. Those are basically the polarities. It's the serpent and the divine feminine. The serpent is all about like death, change, transformation. Yeah. And the divine feminine is all about birth, creation, um, being, intuition, all that. So those are the polarities. And so you have to accept the one in order to embrace and accept the other. And so most people really villainize the snake. The snake is seen as this evil thing. And now the divine feminine has been quieted for so many years. Women are remembering though. Women are remembering though. And I love it. I love it. But yeah, we have to learn to accept the one in order to accept the other. That doesn't necessarily mean you have to now love snakes, but basically what this woman was saying was like, when you see a snake, where does that fear show up? Because that could indicate like the energy that is being blocked by that energy, that serpent energy, whatever. I don't know too much about that, to be quite honest. So go check out her stuff. But it is basically all about letting go of your fear of change and death and all that stuff. That's basically what that is surrounded by. But she goes a lot more in depth with that. So I definitely recommend checking that out. I really wish I could tell you her name now, but I don't remember. So yeah, I'm sorry. Anyway, Um, yeah, and she was also saying like another really cool thing about their link, the link between the feminine and the snake, is when the snake opens its mouth, it kind of looks like the coochie. So that's kind of cool as well. Like there is a link there. But anyway, um, yeah, and something else that I learned about that, I didn't learn it from her, but something that actually made me a little bit more mind blown about the whole villainizing the snake thing was that actually before patriarchy and all that stuff, when matriarchy was actually still a thing, um, the snake was actually used quite commonly as like a religious symbol. Not religious, but like spiritual, you know? So that's kind of crazy that that was the chosen symbol for evil. Listen, guys, I haven't gone too much into all that, but I do recommend checking it out because I have seen some stuff. Anyway, yeah, I just think that that's a little bit crazy. But it's also cool that I learned about all of this during Year of the Snake. It's like it was meant to be. It's probably also why she decided to go into it. But I mean, come on. It's pretty cool. But yeah, as I was saying about women remembering their power, this all kind of started. Okay, well, that's not really a remembrance, but you know, the feminist movement got women wanting more for their lives and realizing that, like, why should I live up? Why should I live my whole life for a man and all that stuff? Um, and that has brought us so much sovereignty. And I've spoken about this in another video, but to be quite honest, I don't associate with feminism anymore. Again, it's not because I disagree with it. I'll never be like anti-feminist or whatever. And if you want to know more about that conversation, please just go check out episode 8. Yeah, episode 8. Please go check that out if you want to know more about that conversation. But yeah, it's just because with feminism, like, I'll just say what's important for this episode. Um, I had this like limiting belief that like I don't need men and I'm independent and I do things for myself and blah blah blah. And basically that was putting me in my masculine and I was forcing myself to be in my masculine and I wasn't allowing the men around me to be in their masculine. So that's like the main thing that we need for this episode, okay? But the thing is, the reason I'm not like anti-feminist or whatever and why that is relevant in this conversation is because okay, the profane feminine is overgiving, has no sense of self, a lack of boundaries, um, and all of that makes her very resentful and people pleasing and all that. Sorry. And if you want to know more about that, I can also link another video down below about it in the YouTube video and all that. So check that out. I will link it below. I can't remember the name of the channel, so I'm so sorry, but I can't say it right now. Um, but yeah, so that's the profane feminine. That is actually what patriarchy wants. It wants her to be serving men and have no sense of self and be so like giving, right? But it's just not the way that women thrive and it's not the way that society would thrive either. With a resentful woman that whatever. Anyway, so the profane masculine. No wait. Maybe I should also. Okay, I did already say it. So that's the profane feminine, and the divine feminine is, you know, very intuitive, very. She makes time for herself, all that stuff, you know. But the profane masculine is very taking and very demanding and over asserting power and wanting to control everyone. And, you know, that's basically a man that lives under patriarchy. Because the patriarchy, okay, you can. go into episode 8 to hear more about it, but I will give a brief rundown. Um, the patriarchy doesn't want men to be in touch with their feminine side. So, like, they block out any emotions that they have, you know. So that makes the man very profane in their masculinity. The divine masculine is supposed to lead and protect and provide while allowing their feminine partner to be in their divine feminine, meaning guiding with intuition, embracing their self-care and beauty, because I will get into that, but we thrive off of that. And to be creative, which ultimately means embracing her sexuality, which there is a lot of shame around in patriarchy, women being comfortable with their sexuality. Sexual energy is creative energy. That's where birth comes from. It's literally the act of creation. So it's not just about birth, it's an energy. You can create things in your life with that sexual energy. So you have to get comfortable with it and stop feeling shame around it. But I will get into that. And so what I'm saying is the patriarchal man can't hold the divine feminine. And so with women remembering their divinity, and I say divinity because women have a direct connection to source of life, i.e. God, because I feel like I've explained this so many times in videos, but you know, everyone comes from everyone's a soul, right? That's what we are. We are the awareness behind what's happening here. And that awareness is an energy. And energy cannot be created or destroyed. It comes from somewhere. And so God is also an energy. It's that it's that collective consciousness. It's that I can't think of the best words to explain that now, but women have that direct source to that. And that's not to say that men don't. Men also, like the divine masculine, definitely has that connection. Everybody has a gut feeling. And that gut feeling is because we're all souls, and our souls aren't limited by this physical body, by the physical barriers. It's still all interconnected. So you still get your gut feelings. But the thing about the gut feeling is that it can be very disrupted with anxiety, digestive shit. There's just a lot that can disrupt it. And it can be very confusing. Sometimes you don't know if it's anxiety or your intuition. But with the womb, it is literally this direct communication. And so getting in touch with that is very important as a woman, and I'm still learning how to do that, but I will talk about it a bit now as well. But yeah, so women are starting to remember this and starting to enter their divine femininity. And so, I hope men will also start to realize that they need to enter their divine masculine in order to hold the divine feminine. You know what I mean? I hope this is all making sense because I'm actually so into this topic and I've been integrating it so much into my life lately and it's been so beautiful. I've just been keeping myself in the state of receiving and just feeling good in my body and listening to my body. Oh, getting so in tune with my body and how it speaks to me. And anyways, I'm going to talk about that now. Getting a bit ahead of myself. So, okay, with patriarchy, obviously, women haven't really been very in touch with their spiritual side, with their womb energy. We're always told to listen to our gut, and that's not always, obviously, we have a better way of getting in touch with our intuition, and that's through the womb. And a lot of women are very out of touch with that. But it can be improved, and that's the good thing. It can be improved through, well, in a more spiritual sense, your energy work, hip opening yoga, dancing, and charging your yoni with the sun, your coochie. I like to say yoni. It just sounds so beautiful. It sounds like a little flower. But anyway, I've never actually tried that last one, but I've heard that it is really good to just have direct sunlight right there because the sun is energizing and it charges, and I think it's worth looking into. I would love to do like solar charging. No, not solar, lunar. So like with a full moon. But I don't know if that's actually a thing. I haven't looked into that. But anyway, I just imagined it right now. But yeah, so that's the more like spiritual work. And I know not everybody is into things like yoga and energy work and all that stuff. A more general way that you can start getting in touch with your intuition as a woman is to start building self trust. Stop outsourcing your power and your knowledge. Stop asking people for their opinions on things. Stop waiting for people to approve of things before you do things. Stop doing things because other people like it. Start just doing what feels right to you. And along the way, you'll get it wrong a bit. In the beginning, you're still going to get used to the way that feeling feels, the way that intuition speaks to you. So in the beginning, you might mess up a little bit, but you'll get used to it. And with time, you'll build that trust and you'll know exactly what the yeses and nos feel like. So that's my main thing for all the women out there. Stop outsourcing your power. Okay. But now, something else I want to talk about is our womanly nature. I've been realizing lately how much our womanly nature actually makes so much sense in terms of our feminine energy. And what I mean by womanly nature is the way women just love to be. Basically, women are powered by beauty and aesthetics. And you see that because, women are always the ones wanting to wear jewelry and makeup and do their hair and wear a nice outfit and be out in nature and decorate their apartments. And, there's just so many ways that women show this. And I mean, it's throughout history. Of course, the media has convinced us a lot to lean into makeup and nails and all that stuff. And so, yes, some of it can have a bad side. But for centuries, women have been wearing jewelry and, just being the most decorative of the bunch, I like to say. Um, and it actually makes sense that I've been learning lately. The feminine is actually powered by beauty. And beauty doesn't have to mean like, I never want it to sound like beauty means looking good in other people's eyes or whatever. That's not beauty. Beauty is like feeling good. Beauty is, you can find literally beauty in anything just by giving it your attention. Because where you place your attention is where you place your energy. And when you give something energy, especially something good. In the previous episode, I was talking about how you can give good energy into something bad and then it just drains you. But if you're giving good energy into something good, it actually gives you energy back. So, for example, with a tree, I actually heard this from a different podcast recently. But with a tree or a sunset or anything like that, when you give it your appreciation and your attention, it gives you this feeling of awe and just pure happiness. And that's it reciprocating that energy. So that's kind of what I mean by beauty in this sense. And that sort of thing also happens when we put on jewelry or wear makeup that makes us feel like how we want to feel that day. It's like a form of self expression. And when we wear clothing that feels cool and decorate our rooms the way we like it literally makes us feel powered. So it makes sense. Um, and because of that, I believe that it's not frivolous. I don't think beauty is this frivolous thing. And I think we, as women, should be promoting it more in our lives, aiming for more beauty, looking for more beauty. It's not frivolous. It actually empowers us and it actually charges us up. So don't feel like it's silly when you want to dress up or, you know, do your nails and stuff. It genuinely makes you feel good when you're busy with something and you see that your nails look good. It feels good for a reason because we're women and we're charged by that shit. Also, I just want to say, I have mentioned this before, but actually, when I talk about feminine and masculine energies, everybody's got both of them and everybody's got a different balance of them. So, me, for example, I'm mostly feminine, or at least I should be, and I've been working on making it that way because with my most of my past being very leaning into feminism, I had been very in my masculine. But I think I've been bringing up my feminine a lot lately. It feels like I am. So, yeah, for me, I feel like I'm obviously more feminine, but biological sex really plays no role. So that's also when I say like the masculine will have a feminine partner. It doesn't mean it's a boy and a girl. You know what I mean? Anyway, um, so with this whole beauty thing, women, you have to remember capitalism is going to try and convince you to like uh, follow that or whatever, but more in a way to like prove yourself. You know, not even just capitalism, like even patriarchy or just the people around you. You know, they'll say like, "Yeah, you need to wear makeup because that's what men like," or um, whatever. Or like the beauty industry will be like, "You're only beautiful if you wear this kind of makeup," blah blah blah. Or like you'll see models that are doing certain beauty things and you think that you have to do that in order to be accepted. This isn't the way that beauty will charge you up because now your energy is being outsourced again. You're doing things for the approval of other people. You're doing things for other people, not for yourself. So now you're outsourcing again, and that is not how you raise your energy. That's not how you embrace your divinity as a feminine, you know? So, my whole life I've always said to the women in my life, like, wear your makeup for you, do your nails for you. I always despised when the women in my life were like, yeah, I like doing nails because that's what men like, or um, my boyfriend likes it when I wear this kind of top, so I wear it a lot, or my boyfriend likes blondes, so I dye my hair blonde, or, girl, no, you should always be doing these things for yourself. And I've always been saying this since high school, but to be honest, it was always because I didn't like the idea of like living for a man. But now I'm also noticing that not only is it important in that aspect, but also because in order to embrace your divine femininity, you need to listen to what you like and you need to be doing things that feel good for you. So stop looking towards everyone outside to see what you should be doing, what they like, what they prefer. And turn inward, girl. Stop asking people what they like, what they think looks good on you, and start noticing what you think looks good on you without you being like, oh yeah, the boys might like if I wear this or something like that. Like, really listen to your thoughts because intention is always so important. And when you're doing something, you're wearing something or just doing anything in your life that's for you, that energy is coming inwards. And the thing is, when you are, let's say, doing all this stuff for other people, and I say you're outsourcing your energy, when energy goes out, that repels. You're pushing. You're now repelling the things in life that are meant for you. And you're just going to attract anybody that wants to feed off of that. So those people that were only okay when you were doing those things, when you start to do things for yourself, they're going to fall away, most likely. Or they have to adapt. Because now there's none of that to feed off of anymore. And when you're doing things for yourself and you bring that energy inward, you're starting to attract the things that are actually meant for you. And that's how you start being in this feminine energy of receiving. I love when it all aligns. So you do things for yourself, Your energy comes inward. You're no longer outsourcing. You start attracting things. You start being in a state of receiving, which is feminine. And now you're in your feminine energy a little bit more. It's amazing. I think it all just makes so much sense. So, that's on the topic of beauty. But I also mentioned that, you know, make sure this microphone doesn't die. um, I also mentioned that sexual energy is creative energy. So now you're attracting these things in your life. Oh, excuse me. But you're not always going to attract the right thing if you're still living in like shame, and if you've still got like trauma blocking you, and because you're going to attract these things and then they're going to show up and you're not even going to notice them, or you're going to brush it off and be like, no, I'm not ready for it, or whatever. You need to start getting in touch with your sexual energy, and that means releasing shame. Releasing shame. Your sexual energy allows you to create the life that you want. This is going to sound a little bit weird, but sometimes, most of the time, when I orgasm, I think about the life I want. Because that shit is manifesting. It'll literally create it because it puts you more in that energy. Anyway, I was just going to say that, yeah, there's a lot of ways to enhance your sacral chakra energy. And I did mention some of them before, but like, the reason that things like hip opening yoga and sacral energy work are important is because women actually store trauma in their hips, especially sexual trauma. And I think it's because, you know, obviously we can have other forms of trauma, but I think for women, a lot of the time, almost all of us have been in some way shamed for our sexuality. You know, I'm not going to get into that, but either that or we've experienced some sort of sexual harassment, or, you know, things can get very serious on that topic. And I'm so sorry if anyone listening has gone through that. I know that it's most of us. But anyway, you need to release that in order to fully embrace your feminine energy, because it's holding you back. And this is now going into a topic that I spoke about in episode 9. So I'm not going to get too into like not letting the past screw you over, but it is kind of relevant now. A big way, obviously, go to therapy, but you know, the way you live your life on a daily basis plays a role. And when you're doing things like hip opening yoga or energy work, or when you're simply dancing with your hips, it helps release that shame. You feel more comfortable taking up space. You feel more comfortable opening up, and, you know, and that allows you to be more comfortable creating this life because now you're no longer scared to take up space. But on that note, another womanly way that makes sense because of this is the way when women dance, we naturally just want to move our hips. You think that's a coincidence? Like, with the right intentions, obviously sometimes moving our booties can have a little bit of ill intention, but with the right intention, which is literally just like releasing, moving your body, you know, that can be so beautiful and magnetic. It's for a reason. And dancing is a form of release. You know, when music plays and you just feel the urge to like move to the rhythm, that moving to the rhythm is like releasing shit, man. That's why we love to party. It's a release. Like, when you're on the dance floor, do you sit there thinking about all your problems? You've released it. So don't doubt when you are wanting to move your hips on the dance floor, and don't feel scared to do it either, especially if it's not for bad reasons. um, Not to say that like looking sexy is a bad reason. Like, let's say you're moving your hips because you want to look sexy. It's not necessarily a bad reason, but it can be bad if you're just trying to please other people. Again, outsourcing that shit. So if it's just to like make other people think you look good, that's not a good thing, right? So yeah, intention is always so important. But yeah, let's work your little heart out because it's healing, bitch. I will always live for that. I mean, I think the reason this hip work is also so important, hip work, I mean, it is to do with your hips, but your sacral energy work is because, you know, the sexual trauma, it doesn't just happen in our lives. It's happened with women from our, like, past, like, ancestors, you know? I feel like I said that so broken, but our ancestors experienced so much sexual trauma as well. So this is not only just releasing your own trauma, because that is more on a psychological level. I feel like obviously it builds up there, but we can work through our own shit psychologically. So like with a therapist or like shadow work or whatever. But I feel like what really builds up in our body is generational trauma. And that's like scientifically a thing. That's like your epigenetics get passed down to a level, you know? And so things that affect you from your environment can actually be passed down. Um, so yeah, I do feel like that work helps with that. It's not just about you sometimes, but yeah, so all in all, um, start embracing serpent energy. I've also been working with this, not very in depth. Like I said, like I haven't really looked into that too much. I've been focusing more on the feminine stuff, but basically just realize if you are scared of change and death and all that, and work on that. And don't forget that your womb is literally a portal to life. So trust your gut because it is strong, girl. And in whatever dynamics you're in, the divine feminine is guiding with intuition, while the divine feminine takes leadership, takes action. And the woman's like, I think we should go that way. And then he's like, yes, move this way, take all of this, blah, 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 blah. Well, he takes all of it, you know. So, yeah, don't forget that. And then, yeah, stop outsourcing your power, trust your intuition, and lean more into the beauty in your life. It's not a frivolous thing. And, you know, start noticing what actually makes you feel good. Lean into that because that's what beauty truly means, not this capitalistic idea of it. What really makes you feel good, what gives you energy back. Okay. And shake your ass some more. Ah, this was such a beautiful episode, and I've been wanting to talk about this for so long. So thanks so much for listening. I love you guys so much. Give me some feedback. What are your thoughts on this topic? I want to hear all about it. Love you guys. Bye.